So that got cut a bit short. We are going to have to put the top up in this Vantage because it started to rain. Really weird style of rain too. I don't even know. Why, how, but whatever. Long story short, it started to rain. So we are in a 6-speed Aston Martin Vantage. 2008, super cool car. Definitely not something you see every day with the manual trans and the Aston, but it's cool that they offer it. This is a car that, I'm happy it isn't a manual, just because knowing the fact that it's from 2008, I don't know of one good automatic transmission from that era, even if you consider Ferrari or Lamborghini. I don't think any of them had a dual clutch system yet. Neither did BMW. In 2008, they had probably just introduced the DCT with the E92 M3s. So, I'm happy to see that this car is a manual because it's just better off that way. Prefer a lot of the newer cars, I prefer to just be in a dual clutch, not because I don't like manuals, but because it just makes more sense. You have brand new technology, you have cars that are ridiculously fast. Most supercars and sports cars over 500-600 horsepower, and yeah, I guess you could say it adds to the fun of the experience, and it's cool and being more involved. But with that much power, man, you want to be able to use it as much as possible. So I don't know if that's the absolute best idea, but as you can see there, I don't know if you could see it in the video, but the guy wanted me to get off the property. I think he just wanted somebody to talk to, and well, as far as from where I'm shooting these cars. And after talking to him, he was a super nice guy, and he said that's totally fine. Just make sure you don't put anywhere on the driveway. And I'm super appreciative of that. That's super cool. So I'm glad that was able to happen because I shoot there on a regular basis. And it's nice to have somewhere to shoot consistently because it helps take time down. As I've mentioned before, it's important to eliminate the amount of time it takes to do certain things because I spend so much time editing and everything in between that it just is a lot better to not have to do that kind of stuff. With photos, I don't know how this looks right now, it's probably crazy, but with photos, you want to avoid reflections at all costs, unless they are like aesthetically pleasing, and you definitely don't want any reflections of yourself, so you kind of have to hide yourself in the body lines, and if you see me moving around, it's probably for a better angle or to get myself out of the shot. That's just how this rolls sometimes. Let's put this back. The truck had to turn around. Hopefully we don't have any more trucks that need to turn around in the near future, because I'm trying to shoot this before it rains because this thing doesn't have a top. But, so as you can see, that got cut a little bit short because of the rain and just a bunch of other factors, people getting in the way. But that's all the fun of taking photos on a day-to-day basis in mass quantities, because that's a key element. You're never gonna have the perfect situation, and you're never gonna have, like I said, the perfect scenario. And things are going to come up. People are going to potentially yell at you. People are going to potentially get in your way. You might be getting in other people's way, and yada yada. That's just what it takes to get the shot sometimes. But as long as you're polite and you know, you're nice with everybody, you shouldn't have any real problems. You know, if you plan ahead, you could typically, you know, be around when people aren't leaving work and going to work, and you know, vice versa. But either way, not the end of the world. Um, Still got some awesome shots today that I'm happy with. I've been using the D850, which is sweet. You know, I've been telling everybody I'm getting used to it, because I really am. It is a lot different of a camera than the D800, and just the way that the camera processes images and just the images look. So I'm used to shooting a certain way and keeping settings a certain way, but this gives me a little bit more versatility, especially with low light situations. You know, particularly, you know, being able to use zoom lens, or even shooting at f4, f5, you know, a little bit higher f-stops, because I have the ability to crank the ISO without getting a bunch of noise, which is like grain in the shots. So as far as the workflow goes with shooting cars outside, and some tips on shooting automotive cars, slash cars in general, would just be, like I said in a previous video, you're always going to want to run a polarizer. You're always going to want to, honestly, weird tip, but be dressed in something relatively flexible and just kind of comfortable, because I've shot in a dress shirt and dress pants way too many times, and it's not fun, and it's not even required of you as a photographer. You know, it's not necessary. But dress in something comfortable that you can move around in to get those angles. Obviously, you know, pack lightly, but you know, enough to where you're not missing anything. I shoot, you know, the 58. You know, 50 is really similar to that lens. A lot of people shoot 50s, or just one solid prime lens. And I always bring a zoom lens. So I'm trying to get more used to using this 24 to 120 zoom lens, just because I've seen a lot of cool stuff done with it. But like I said, I've been shooting the 58 for like 2 years straight, and I almost like never took it off the camera. So it's a little bit more natural to shoot with that. But I'm changing it up, pushing myself a little bit, and looking to kind of change up the dynamic of some of the shots with some wider stuff, what have you. So with that being said, another tip when you're shooting automotive would be to make sure, obviously, that the car is clean. It helps, you know, because when you're shooting a massive quantity of cars, you want to focus on what matters, you know, color correcting, editing, and just making things look better, straightening things. You don't want to have to worry about taking away dirt that could have been prevented, and just overall made your life a little bit easier. So keep the cars clean if you can. I don't always do it, but you could bring some spray wax, spray detailer, and a microfiber towel in case you do see some little stuff here and there. With that being said, they don't need to be perfectly clean. A lot of people, a lot of stuff doesn't show up in photos, but cleaner the better, honestly, just as a rule of thumb. With that being said, the next tip would be to make sure that you plan ahead on the angles that you want, and you shoot the core angles first, so you can spend time shooting the details after as kind of an overflow. So what I mean by that is, maybe shoot your first, say, driver's side or passenger side on a, I don't even know, degree angle, maybe say 45-degree angle with the wheel turn. Say you shoot it at about 70 degrees, so the car is, say this is the front of the car, you'd want to angle it and then turn the wheel, and then you get that nice shot, kind of like that, honestly. That's kind of a signature. That's a shot I took of my old E46 M3, and that's kind of like a signature. I'll bring you over here to this shot of this GT3. It's kind of the same kind of deal. Got that nice angle with the wheel turned. That's just a very aesthetically pleasing shot. So I would suggest getting that shot and a couple, basic shots, like the front straight on and the wheel, the fender from the side straight on. as well as a nice shot of the backside. Just, you know, your general shots that you'd see in a set of photos. And then you can go on to the details like the, you know, shifter and the steering wheel and everything in between, any little things, engine bay, stuff like that. But if you don't have to have stuff like street signs and fire hydrants and just random stuff that doesn't need, if you could shoot around it rather than edit it out after the fact, you're gonna just be better off that way. And also, don't, you know, if you look at your photos after you finish taking a photo, zoom in, look around, make sure you're in focus, and also make sure that you're not getting in the reflection of anything, because that takes away. And not only is it hard to edit out stuff like that to make look super clean like it could have been, but it just doesn't look good ever. So just, you know, try and avoid that, getting yourself in there, and you know, use the CPL to avoid a lot of the nasty reflections, and then, you know, kind of use your best judgment to avoid anything else that is avoidable. So that being said, you knock out your core shots first so you don't forget about any of them, and then you go into your details, so everything else is just kind of a bonus. And then you're going to make sure that you're not getting yourself in the shots or any reflections. And last, I want to add in the fact that you should be shooting at golden hour if you can. That's going to be a huge game changer as far as quality of shots go, because the light just settles really nicely on the car. Not only is the sky awesome because you're not going to get it blown out, but just the way that the light sets on the car, there's a better explanation for this out there somewhere, I know. But you want to shoot at sunrise and sunset, or I think it's technically an hour before, an hour after. You kind of get the feel. Try and time it a little early so you have the whole time until the sun completely sets to get your shots. If that isn't possible because of your work schedule or because of how many cars you need to shoot, that's not a problem. It's just going to make your shots more aesthetically pleasing. Trying to look at some shots. I mean, I shoot all the time now. There's a point where, you know, if I can plan a shoot, I will go for golden hour. But if I can't plan a shoot, or I'm, you know, just have too many cars and I can't, I'll work with what I have. But the best thing aside from golden hour would be cloudy weather. Not today, obviously. It was nice for a little bit, but just with the rain, it kind of sucked. But just generally, cloudy weather is super nice, just because of the way that the overcast looks on the paint. It doesn't have any harsh light. Same with like golden hour. And you know, the worst case scenario, you have to shoot in the beating sun, which is never fun. You can make it look good, don't get me wrong, plenty of people do. I have to deal with it all the time, but if you can avoid it, sun, or if it's in the sun, if you find some shade, that's always nice, because then you're able to get, you know, a little bit less harshness on the photos. And in the automotive photography space, I feel like it's best to avoid it just because it looks better. But with that being said, I just wanted to touch on a few brief points that help me every day shoot better automotive photos. I'm not saying that these are the clear-cut answers. This is just the way that I shoot and some of the things that I prefer to do when I do shoot. So with that being said, I want to open up the ability to everyone to send me questions. I'll email back or DM back right away. Most of the time, or within a couple hours. My Instagram is Sulkar, SULKAR _media, MEDIA. And my email is Kyle, KYLE, @sulkarmedia.com. So with that being said, this video is over, and I look forward to teaching you whatever I possibly can in the next one. I want to thank you very much for watching. If you could subscribe, that would be awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next video.